fear is pressing you down a bit. Rest if you must, but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt.
Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to your viewers from around the world for another exciting episode of your favorite program, Let's Talk, of course, on your favorite channel, Huda TV. And if I might add, Huda TV is the pioneer and premier English language Islamic channel, but of course I'm biased because I work here. You guys, this is part 2 of our 2-part series about fitna on campus. This is a topic that was suggested to me by a good friend who said, listen, there's intellectual fitna as well as physical fitna. We talked about the physical fitna in the previous episode. I hope you guys benefited from that, and if you didn't get a chance to see it, definitely check it out online on YouTube and on our website as well. Second episode today, this evening, intellectual fitna. This is a huge fitna, perhaps even greater than the physical fitna. And it attacks the psyche of the Muslim student the moment he steps onto the university campus. Usually this type of fitna originates from 2 types of groups. The first is the traditional religious organization simply preaching their religion. This is easier to deal with, I believe. Simply arm yourself with a network of good Muslim practicing friends and trustable scholars of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat. The second group, the second point of origin of intellectual fitna, comes from the university itself and is more difficult to deal with. It comes from atheists, liberals, seculars, philosophers, these type of people. What do? They specialize in just confusing the Muslim who was once a believer, and they use circular logic and this type of thought process to confuse the believer and turn him into a confused disbeliever, because he has been confused with this circular logic and these philosophical terms, when in fact they don't have anything to stand on themselves. Actually, they are confused themselves, and because they are confused, they deceive others. This is a big problem. The remedy for this problem we will discuss now in this program, inshallah. We would like to discuss preventative measures in order to protect the Muslim intellectually before he attends the university. Furthermore, remember, my dear students, my Muslim students from all around the world at various universities, male and female, remember, don't simply believe everything your professor says because he is the professor. It doesn't mean it's the truth. Perhaps, like everyone, he has an agenda. Perhaps he has a Jewish, a Christian, secular, a philosophy, some sort of agenda, some sort of bias. He's not totally objective as he or she would lead you to believe. That's not the case most often. And also, don't believe everything that you read in a book just because it's a nice edition and it's printed in a book. Who is the author of this book? What is his or her intention? Why is this book in the syllabus? And why and how is it in your hands now? No. Where is this book published? Everybody has an agenda. So think about that, my dear Muslim students. Keep that on your mind as we address this issue of intellectual fitna on university campuses. And this is not just in America and the West. This is right here in the Middle East as well. So let's take that into account. Also, you guys, develop a strong network of Muslim people around you. And when you have a doubt, astaghfirullah, in your mind about Islam, don't consult your Hindu professor or your non-practicing Muslim professor. Contact a qualified scholar to help clarify this. If you're looking for Islamic information and you want to be clarified, you have to go to the proper source. Having said that, I know I talk too much. Let me introduce my respected and prestigious guests. They were here last week. We have a graduate from Ohio State University as well as Canadian University here in Cairo as well, Brother Abu Abdur Rahman Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining me once again. Brother Rami Hisham. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much. Of course, thank you guys for joining me, and you guys in the studio audience as well. Thank you for joining me for part 2 of our series, Intellectual Fitna. Having said that, before we go to our report, let me take your thoughts, brother. I know that you're from Azhar University, so you don't really have this challenge there, do you?
Actually, it is true that we don't have to this challenge in the sense that we don't have professors who might have such a mentality. But in Azhar University, and one of its characteristics is that we study all kinds of ideologies and all kinds of psychologies and all kinds of theologies. We study them, and we study how to refute their claims, be they are atheists or whatever they are, and we study their claims and how to reply to them. And this is why I do recommend Al-Azhar as a source for anyone who has doubt. You can contact, and it's now very easy to get the reply, and it will be very clear. And Alhamdulillah, as Muslims, we know that there is no doubt whatsoever when it comes to our beliefs and our basic principles.
Yes, subhanAllah. And we could even say if someone did have a doubt that they picked up in the university, perhaps it's because they didn't acquire the knowledge of the deen itself, because the deficiency is with their understanding, isn't it?
Yes, yes, and this highlights the importance of the crucial role of the family, how they bring their kids in an Islamic way and to prepare them for facing such challenges and such claims.
Yes, subhanAllah.
Yes.
Brother, when you were at Ohio State, were you Muslim at that time or not yet?
Yes, I was Muslim. I was fresh out of the military.
Oh, subhanAllah.
Didn't really know much, but I knew I believed in Allah and the Messenger.
Yeah,
Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
So, I mean, having said that, did these type of ideologies affect you in a negative way? Did it weaken your faith in any way, or what was the effect of being exposed to different ideologies? And
well, because I lacked knowledge, I was susceptible to everything just like everyone else.
right,
It wasn't until I transferred to the University of Cincinnati that I began to have Muslim friends. And with my Muslim friends, they would remind me of Allah. They would remind me of, you know, I shouldn't go here, I shouldn't go there, I shouldn't associate with this person or that person. They kept me mindful of
the circumstances.
right, of my actions. And you know, for me, that's one of the biggest things that I think a person can do to protect themselves, is to have people around them, surround themselves with good Muslims, surround themselves with people who have good morals, good character, who have taqwa, who have knowledge and have fear of Allah. That's one of the biggest things that I think that a person can do to sort of So when you have questions,
right,
you know, like you said, you don't go to the Hindu professor.
Yeah.
You don't go to,
or even a Muslim professor who's not qualified.
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
subhanAllah. Excellent point. Brother Rami, what do you think? I mean, I know you're also in a similar situation in the university. You're wrapping up your studies now. How big of a problem is this? I mean, how much is the Muslim affected negatively by hearing and learning about philosophies and other type of religious beliefs?
Well, I mean, like you said, if you're deficient in knowledge, it will affect you. I mean, and, you know, you are susceptible to a lot of different. I mean, there's a lot of different ideologies and theories out there, and you're susceptible to them. But you have to remind yourself at the end of the day you are a Muslim, and if you are in doubt, then go back to the literature, read.
Right.
If not, ask a scholar. I mean, I remember I had a professor it was a class, Western Civilization 2, and the first thing he said when he walked in was, "I don't believe in a God. I don't believe in your fairy tale star gods." He's like, and then he went there, he tried to pretty much disprove Judaism, Christianity, followed by Islam. He's like, if any of you don't like that, that's fine. Don't come back to my next class. This is how I am.
I had an experience like that too.
Good.
I mean, I never came back to his next class. I withdrew from this. I can find other professors, plenty of other professors that I can, you know, take a class with. But I mean, that was point blank right in the beginning. So I mean, it's you got to make that. You have to go in with that intention to make the decision that you can't ever let go of your deen.
SubhanAllah. Right. Well, excellent point, brother. What about your experience? Go ahead.
I had a professor at University of Cincinnati told me he believed in no God, there was no God, that science can explain everything. So, you know, we would debate during the class, and there were other people of different faiths, and they would also debate with him, and he said science can explain everything. Well, one day, a humongous snowstorm hit Cincinnati that no one was prepared for. No one knew it was coming. They never warned us about it. And I mean, it shut down the whole city. So when we came back to school, I asked the professor, I said, why didn't you tell us that the snowstorm was coming? Well, I didn't know. I said, well, I thought you said science could explain everything. I said, you cannot explain everything. And I said, if that snowstorm was for you to know, you would have known about it.
SubhanAllah, that's a great point. Before we continue our conversation, I want to introduce our very respected and prestigious guest via telephone, the host of Quran in Depth, our beloved Sheikh Ibrahim Zidan. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Ibrahim. Thank you for taking time to be with us today.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Barakallahu feek. My pleasure, inshallah.
Sheikh Ibrahim, we're talking about intellectual fitna that is that Muslim youth are facing on university campuses throughout the world, here in the Middle East as well. What is the position that a Muslim should take as far as these position towards philosophy and these other religious ideologies? Is it advisable that they even enroll in these courses?
Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Wallahi, with this, it is something that usually no, of course not. Unless a person is well learned in matters of the deen, have knowledge of the deen of Islam, of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. These types of things and philosophers and things like that is mentioned in some of the books of the people of knowledge, like Shaykh Hisham Rami, rahimahullah, for example. He refuted all of their calls and in many of his books. So it is something that is a subject of the people, or of the books of knowledge in the deen of Islam. But with the condition that someone is well versed in the deen, very well knowledgeable, and then a person can discuss or study these things. But to start to be a freshman, for example, in college, doesn't have much knowledge of the deen, and then exposing oneself to the falsehood, this is definitely not a good thing. And one last thing is, so that I don't take too much of your time, Shaykh Saint Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, he said himself that whoever is used to hear al-batil or falsehood, definitely it would lead him that he would divert the truth, just by getting used to hear the falsehood, even if you know that it's falsehood. But listening to it, hearing it, putting yourself in that environment, after some time, you would find yourself diverting from the truth, or the truth becomes not very clear to you. So we have to protect ourselves with the knowledge of the deen and the sunnah of the Prophet.
Sheikh Ibrahim, many people on university campuses, they are Muslim students, and perhaps they take information from non-Muslim professors or even non-qualified Muslim professors. Can you clarify for the Muslim students around the world, who should they take Islamic information from? Who are the credible sources that they can take from?
The knowledge of the deen of Islam is to be taken from the Prophet ﷺ through the people of knowledge. It's a continuous chain of narration from the Prophet ﷺ all the way till today. And this is how we even know the people of knowledge. The people of knowledge, they got this knowledge from the ones before them and the ones before them, all the way to the Prophet ﷺ. So people need to be students of knowledge. They go to the people of knowledge, they ask them, they study with them, they learn matters of the deen and manners and etiquettes and all kinds of things. Because the ulama, the people of knowledge, they basically are the best imitators of the Prophet ﷺ. So, and if the person is not able to do that, whatever means possible, but still from the people of knowledge, the people of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ.
Sheikh Ibrahim Zidan, I certainly appreciate your time. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Inshallah, thank you so much. I hope they benefit the viewers, inshallah. I'm sure they will. Thank you so much, Sheikh Ibrahim Zidan. Having said that, you guys, let's go check out this Facebook report. Just some comments from our viewers about this topic, so check it out.
Usman Muhammad says, the issue of culturalism is one of the big problems we are facing in Nigeria universities. Aisha Ishaq says there is fitna even in girl-only campuses too. Astaghfirullah. Aliyu Mustafa says there are a lot of temptations on campuses these days. Girls dress half naked, go to clubs, you name it. One other thing that always skips our mind is the fact that some students devote all their time to studies, neglecting religious duties including salah. It's pathetic. Manib says brainwashing, be it the environment around or the system of education, be it secular school or even some Islamic schools. In most of the cases, either you reach the fountain of materialism, followed by every animal act, or otherwise you become totally secluded from the world around. Fatma says, intermingling with the opposite sex. It starts as just being a discussion with mates, then good friends, and eventually you can't explain how you got into a relationship, and you lose all your principles and you lose yourself. If it were possible, I would advise to marry off the girls and the men. Get married while in university.
You guys keep supporting us on Facebook. You guys know the page, facebook.com/huda.tv. We certainly appreciate your feedback, your comments. It's very insightful. We certainly we ask a lot to help all those people on campuses throughout the world who are struggling with physical fitness and, of course, what we're talking about today, intellectual fitness. Having said that, I'm wondering myself, what supplications are there for students and people who are perhaps having some doubts that were planted in them, in their minds from these ideas circulating around university campuses? Perhaps I can go to the Azhar, the young man from Azhar, both of you guys in the studio audience, inshallah. Are there any supplications that could be said for a Muslim perhaps who's experiencing doubts?
Yes, actually, the Prophet, peace be upon him, taught us many beneficial supplications that the Muslim can adhere to and keep reciting, so that Allah the Almighty can always help him steadfast on the right path. And I can mention, for example, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه, which can be translated as the following: Oh Allah, make it easy for us to see the truth and the guidance very clear, very crystal clear, and make it easy for us to abide to it. And oh Allah, make it easy to see falsehood as it is, as a falsehood, and make it easy for us to avoid it and to abstain from it.
MashaAllah, thank you, brother.
And we ask Allah the Almighty.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, brother. How about the brother in the back as well? Is there any other supplications that can be said in addition to this one?
Yes, the Prophet ﷺ also taught us many times that the sound hadith of Umm Salama radiallahu anha. One time the Prophet ﷺ was praying in her room, and she heard him say in his prostration or in his sujood say, "Oh, ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik." After knowing the truth as our brother said, after knowing that, what should you do? Make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for you to follow, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make you steadfast in this truth. Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dini. Oh Allah, who change hearts from the truth to the falsehood, steer my heart fast into the truth. Ya muqallib, thabbit qalbi on this religion. Make it easy for me to steadfast and follow this truthhood.
Thank you so much, brother. I think, brothers, most of the fitna actually comes from the philosophical angle. There's a brother online, a Greek brother actually called Hamza Andreas Tsortsis. Have you heard about this guy?
No.
This guy's addressing, he's getting right in there. He's not, we have a lot of people debating Christians and Jews and this traditional type of debates between the world's largest religions, okay? No. But this guy's getting in there with philosophers. It's really, really great. And he's using the Islamic perspective and refuting it. So it's nice if you guys check him out on YouTube. And you guys at home, check out, just search in the YouTube there, Hamza Andreas Tsortsis. It's really, really excellent brother, debating philosophers. He's really, really great. I highly recommend him. Having said that, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back for more Let's Talk.
Whispers of Satan, desires, peer pressure, leading you to a dead heart. But there is a way out. Living Hearts.
Welcome back to Let's Talk. We're just talking about debating with philosophers. Brother Hamza Andreas Tsortsis, a Greek brother, actually is really good at this. Brother in the studio audience, you said you've seen some of his YouTube videos as well, right?
Actually, I follow him and I watched many of his YouTube videos, and he, mashallah, he's a very good Muslim. And they even run away from him, and they can't stand to how he refutes his claims and allegations.
Yeah,
so I ask Allah the Almighty to help him. And
even that famous atheist,
Richard Dawkins, yes.
He didn't want to talk with him.
Yes, and even Richard Dawkins, which is now seen as the head of the atheists, was his book, The Myth of God. Even he himself, he has doubts about his own claims.
SubhanAllah. Yeah, and that's the point I want to share with you brothers. These guys, especially these philosophers, they have doubts themselves, and then all they do is convey that doubt to you. And it makes it a big problem. Brother, have you experienced some problems like that growing up, through the...
Oh yeah, I mean, people are, they're always questioning things. They're like, okay, well, if there's a God, then why do hurricanes happen? Or why do tsunamis happen?
Yeah.
Or, why do natural disasters happen? Well, it's obviously we're doing something wrong, and it's a sign from God himself that we need to, clean up our acts. But, I mean, if you tell them that, that's not enough.
Yeah, they're not
and then the next thing is, okay, well, if there's a God, then why can't we see him? And I'm like, all right, well, well, it's called blind faith. Well, no, that doesn't make sense. As long as I can't see him, I'm not going to believe in it.
Right.
But the thing is, they have no previous knowledge. They haven't read anything from the Torah to the Bible or even the Quran itself. I mean, they have no previous knowledge whatsoever. It's just off of, when whatever's convenient to them, and they don't want to change their ways or their habits, so that's the best thing they can come up with, and as long as they know they remain ignorant, they don't have to ever feel bad.
Yeah, that's how they do it. That's exactly how they do it. Your thoughts?
You know, when I was younger and I was really beginning to learn Islam, and I had that zeal, and I really wanted to go out there and battle and defend Islam, I found myself in some toe-to-toe battles with some serious people. and you know, as you, I think, mature in knowledge, I feel like the desire to even debate these people, for me,
yeah, me
just,
too.
I don't have time for them.
Yeah.
You know, if someone wants to know, I'm always open to talk to them, give them the little bit that I have. But I'm not one for debating and arguing with these people who, like you said, most of them have no knowledge anyway.
Right. Yeah, right.
They don't have the desire to do what's right. It doesn't matter how many times you give them the truth. You know, the hidayah is from Allah. So I know people that, you know, you can give them all the evidence in the world, even, unfortunately, even some Muslims. You can tell them something that they're doing, you know, is incorrect. You can show them from the kitab and the sunnah, but it doesn't change the behavior.
Yeah,
so we just give the da'wah and let them go.
Yes, subhanAllah. And by the way, Brother Rami, Brother Abu Abdur Rahman, actually, when I hear other religions' philosophy, it actually strengthens me.
Absolutely. I mean, like, we're actually, as Muslims, we're allowed to read about other religions and philosophies and ideas, and that's all just to further prove to us that our deen, our religion, is the right religion. I mean, you look at other religions, I mean, a lot of things just contradict themselves. Right. You know, without getting into specific topics, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah, we don't want to open that door. But
exactly.
Point. Yeah.
But the thing is, you read a lot of different, you know, we read a lot of different ideas or or ideologies or from different, you know, from other scriptures. You find that a lot of things contradict themselves, and it just doesn't make sense. So how do you, as a person that, you know, as a logical human being, preach half this information?
I agree with you, and that strengthens my faith in Islam. And also, I think a lot of the Westerners, what they have a bad experience with the church, because the church has a history against science, against technology, against advancement.
Exactly.
So they transmit that bad history onto Islam, but Islam isn't like that. Okay. I heard Dr. Salah say, Dr. Hatem al-Hajj, he said some of the greatest Islamic scholars were also scientists and mathematicians and this sort of thing.
No, we embrace science. I mean, science is something we embrace. It's facts, and Islam is all about facts. We can never not acknowledge
that. Where's the dalil, they always say, and hey, we didn't do the Inquisition, that wasn't us. I mean, we're not like that, you know, we don't want to get into details. Okay. But to make that point, you guys check out this report. We'll talk about it after you watch it.
Okay, the mixed gender MSA thing, I'm going to do a whole thing on this one. I'm going to do a whole program called Shame. Just on this. Just on, first of all, how does Quran talk about shame? And where is it compromised for Muslim youth that are religious and that are not religious? There's two kinds of Muslim youth, right? So I want to try to address both of them. And inshallah ta'ala, maybe offer some Quranic advice about these kinds of situations. More often than not, these are moral stances than fatwas. If you understand the moral guidelines and you can stick to them, you'll be fine. And if you don't understand them, you'll have problems. And here's just one moral guideline that I'm going to be sharing in the future. I'll just give it to you now. If you're standing there talking to some guy, sister, if you're talking to some dude on campus, and somebody from a distance can get the wrong idea, like if your father was watching from 100 feet away, it would be like, what's going on over there? Or your brother would get the wrong idea, or your husband would get the wrong idea, then you probably should not be in that situation. Okay, if it can be misinterpreted, then you shouldn't be in that situation. So that's kind of a litmus test sort of thing. As far as conversations are concerned, if you're completely comfortable having a conversation with a non-mahram in the same exact way if your father was standing there, and your tone wouldn't be any different, your body language wouldn't be any different, the words you use would be no different, then go ahead. But if you think that if your dad was standing there, or your husband was standing there, or your brother was standing there, or your grandpa was standing there, or let's just say if I was standing there, okay, grandpa, me, you know, so, and your tone, the way you carry yourself, your inflections would be impacted even a little bit, then probably you should not be in that conversation. These are good, easy litmus tests. They're not a fatwa, they're just litmus tests. You know, because if you think I'm not doing anything wrong, then why are you changing your behavior if your dad's there? If it's not wrong, why are you so ashamed of it? Why are you so shocked by it? You see? So your inner conscience is telling you there's something up. But I won't go further in that one. That's a big one, though. I do respect that. That's a big problem.
As you guys know, this is our two-part series about fitna on campus. The first episode was about physical fitna and the second intellectual fitna. This brother, mashallah, Noman Ali Khan, was talking about really physical fitna on campus. He had some excellent points about really just following your moral compass without having to, you know what's right and wrong inside. So just keep that in mind while mixing with other genders. Having said that, I want to go back to our previous comments. The brother and the audience, we were talking about some of the greatest Islamic scholars were actually had secular knowledge as well, not like in other religious traditions where they seem to conflict and contradict each other. That's why people have a negative image of Islam, because they compare it to their previous inherited religion, although we do not have this contradiction between our religion and science. Is that what you mean, brother?
Yes, indeed. That's exactly my point. And actually, I can find no way better to put it. So you made it very clear, actually, Brother Malik. And I can mention, for example, one of the four imams of the major schools of Islamic thought, or the madhahib, is Imam Shafi'i. And actually, he was a Muslim jurist, and at the same time, he was a chemist. So you are here in front of a living example where you see a Muslim scholar who is specialized in the sciences of Islamic Sharia, and at the same time, on an equal footing, he is a chemist. So, and this shows us clearly that there is no contradiction whatsoever between the Islamic sciences and all other sorts of secular sciences. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, made it very clear for us when he said that seeking knowledge is a must on every Muslim, whether a male or a female. So you can clearly see that it's seeking knowledge. It is not only confined or limited to the Islamic knowledge, but all the sciences that would contribute to the human progress and would contribute to humanity. It would be Islamic, and it's something that Islam urges Muslims to seek and even to excel in it and to contribute in this field.
So of course, now we can't forget Islamic Spain when information was thriving. Of course, all this Greek philosophy was transmitted back to the Europeans in the Dark Ages through Arabic translations. What about Baghdad before it was destroyed by the Mongols? It was a center of learning with libraries and all this sort of thing. So we can't. They would like to black this out of history, but they can't.
Yes, indeed. Because Islam actually is a whole way of life and not just a spiritual religion.
Right.
It's a whole way of life.
As some liberals and secular people would like us to believe, just stay in the mosque and pray your prayers, but don't bother us. Subhanallah. They say politics is these liberals and secularists. Politics is a dirty game. So you good people stay out of it. So what, we should leave it to dirty people? I don't understand that. But anyways, we have a call from Mustafa Moore, American revert to Islam. You guys seen him on many programs before. He's a good friend to Huda TV. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Thank you for joining us. Brother Mustafa, can you hear me?
Yes, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you so much for calling in, brother. We're talking about intellectual fitna facing Muslim youth throughout the world. Obviously, you're a revert to Islam. So perhaps you could speak about this topic, inshallah, and what topics, and how can a Muslim address and refute philosophers, atheists, and different religious ideologies?
Well, first of all, assalamu alaikum, Anas. The Muslim has to know his Lord, he has to know his deen, and he has to know his Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. If the Muslim is firmly footed in these three fundamental aspects of their deen, but not lightly grounded, but he has to be well grounded, then inshallah, I believe that he can undertake any other education, and in fact, it will probably be a refreshment for people to see an actual Muslim practicing his deen. Because me myself, when I went to school, I wasn't Muslim, but I was looking for the truth, and I couldn't find it because in my school there were no Muslims. And I believe if I had an opportunity to meet a Muslim, and especially a practicing Muslim, who's confident in his deen, I believe, Allahu Alam, what I'm saying, it would have been a benefit for me. And this could be a form of dawah for the people as well, especially if the Muslim is on that which is correct. I mean, I believe the Muslim would benefit. He would benefit his people from the information, because he wouldn't see it as from a Catholic standpoint. He would see it as a Muslim, and he would know what to take, and he would know what to leave. Inshallah.
Yeah, I couldn't, brother. Thank you for that, for your comments. I couldn't agree with you more. First of all, what you're seeing is that the brothers, the Muslim should have some ilm, some knowledge, and strengthen himself before he puts himself into these difficult situations. I couldn't agree with you more. American Revert to Islam, brother Mustafa Moore. Thank you so much for your call. You guys, how about this? We know that the faith goes up and down with action. So we have to practice our deen as well, right? If we go into a university campus and we take philosophy 101 and talk to atheists and secularists and liberals and different people from the whole spectrum of the various ideologies, and we're not practicing our deen, but we have knowledge of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, but we don't practice our deen, I mean, then I think you're finished as well. You're not going to last, right?
Absolutely. I mean, they will do everything in their power to disprove your thoughts and your opinions and your ideas. And the thing is, the only way you can keep up with your opinions and your strength and your deen is by practicing your deen. But knowing is not enough. Okay, knowing is one, I think, critical aspect of it. But if you're not practicing, then what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point?
I mean, I know, I know a lot of things, but if I'm not, if I'm not using it or applying it, I mean, what's the point?
Yeah, right. Good point. And also, I was in college, brother Abu Abdur Rahman. Perhaps you could vouch for me as well, Howard State. When I took a class, and I wasn't even Muslim back then, I said to myself, okay, who is this professor? What is his background? What is his perspective? Just because he's my college professor doesn't mean what he says is true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, subhanAllah.
Yeah, that's true.
What about books, you guys in the studio audience? We have this culture, we buy a book, it's written by, mashallah, this author, and we think this book, this is not a book, but if it was a book, we see, okay, what's in here? I read this in a book. This has to be correct. But of course, we have to investigate who wrote the book, what is his agenda. I mean, anybody can print a book. And so we have to definitely, these are things that the Muslim student has to ask themselves, who is the author and what is the purpose? Why am I reading this book? Who determines the syllabus? Do you agree?
Yes, of course, I totally agree with you. I can't agree more. You have to check for yourself and you have to verify everything for yourself, especially in today's world where we have all sorts of ideologies and backgrounds and agendas. So as a Muslim, you have to be fully aware and very mindful of this fact.
Excellent. Thank you, brother. Is there any more comments from the studio audience? Perhaps after Brother Ahmed, we can go to your right as well, inshallah. Go ahead, brother, go ahead.
Yes. Actually, the matter is choosing your way. If you choose your way, if you want to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you must and you should choose the tools that help you to be like that. And I want to point to such a thing of debating, making debate with any other one who has a very strange ideology or way of thinking. You must keep in your mind that you don't have the ability to even guide yourself. You always in your prayer asking Allah guidance, saying, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Oh Allah, guide us to the straight path. So you don't have the ability to guide anyone. After making a debate with anyone and you will find him just debating and speaking in a very bad way about your ideology, the Islamic ideology, just leave him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us in the Quran that إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ. It's not up to you to guide anyone. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has the ability to guide whom He wishes subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the guidance is not from you. You should start, make the matter clear for him, the idea of the Islamic knowledge, and then if you find him just debating, leave him away and say to him, Salamun alaykum. لا نبتغي الجاهلين. Peace be with you. I don't have time, as our brother said, I don't have time to mess with you or to live with you.
To deal with ignorant people, subhanAllah. Thank you. Do you have any thoughts as well, Brother Billy?
Really, I think when you choose a book, you must know who's write this book, for you to understand what he means by every word he's saying. He's saying something, but you don't understand it as you want. You must read you must know who he is to understand what the real meaning about it.
Of course. And this is part of our Islamic tradition, verifying the chains of narration, which in fact now Western scientists, they look at Imam Bukhari and they say, wow, look what he did. This is a really scientific method of doing so. And they take his own principles of determining whether hadith was in various stages. So I mean, this is something that this man did many hundreds of years ago, 1400 years ago perhaps. I'm not sure exactly the date. But now it's used in modern science. So this is bears testament to Islam. You guys stay tuned for more Let's Talk.
Islam is a comprehensive way of life. It deals with everything. The Prophet ﷺ wanted to empower people, and he wanted them to feel the responsibility, not just to rely on the state. The companions radiallahu ta'ala anhum, and in particular Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, in the beginning they were not pleased and they were not proud to become the Khalifa. These days we see the candidates running to become the Amir. Islamic State has to provide all inhabitants with the basic needs. It has to fulfill their basic needs. One of the main foundations of the Islamic State is to establish justice.
All right, you guys, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm having a good time. I hope this program is beneficial for all of our viewers. Part 2 of our two-part series, Fitna on Campus. We're talking about intellectual fitna. Brother Abu Abdur Rahman, you were not a Muslim, you reverted to Islam by the grace of Allah. And now you briefly spoke with me about something that was instilled in you in the very early stages of your Islamic identity. And that is?
To verify.
To verify.
Like we've been saying before, if someone hands you a book, you should know who it is and exactly what they're upon. This is something that I understand to be, from our religion, that we verify who's who and what's what, who's writing the book and what they're upon. Because if they're a person that's upon something that's not correct, we don't waste our time in reading these books because it may affect the heart. So how much more so when we're in the college campuses, on the universities, and someone hands us a book and we just take it. No, we need to know exactly who this person is, what they're about, what the book is about, what's it trying to tell me. Like you said before, there's agendas. What are they trying to instill in me? What are they trying to get me to digest and put into my heart? So it's very important. You know, with in college, a lot of times you can choose the classes that you take. You know, the classes that are obvious fitna, that you don't have to take, they're not, stay away from them.
Why expose yourself to it?
Why expose yourself to something that may, I read a book, Sharh Sunnah by Imam al-Barbahari, and he said in the book that there was one of the, I believe it was a Tabi'een, one of the innovators came to him and said, I want to recite the Quran for you. And he said no, and he sent him away. And his companions asked him, why didn't you allow him to recite the Quran? He said, for fear that he may twist the words and it may inscribe itself upon my heart. So we don't take everything just because someone packages it up nicely and hands it to us.
Yeah, subhanAllah, excellent point. I couldn't agree with you more. Brother Rami, actually, when I was a non-Muslim in community college in the United States, I had a Christian professor from Ethiopia. I still remember him. And it was an interesting class. It was a philosophy class, okay? We read about philosophy, we read about various religions, including, of course, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And I would say this was the beginning of my interest, really my serious interest in Islam. So by the grace of Allah, I guess Allah changes the hearts, and sometimes it could be a benefit to people as well. Exposing myself to different things, I was not Muslim, this led me to Islam. I was looking for the truth, and I looked at all these different ways of life, and I picked Islam because I said this is the correct deen. So Muslims going to colleges now and having doubts is like, I can't wrap my mind around it because I was in the other position. Perhaps you have some stories like that as well. I know that you were born Muslim by the grace of Allah, and I'm sure you do dawah work on the campuses and you have non-Muslim friends as well.
No, I do, obviously. I mean, but the thing is, being born a Muslim, especially in the States, I mean, yeah, I always had that heritage, but I didn't really follow it as much until maybe, honestly, post 9/11 when I was actually being interrogated by my fellow peers. I mean, obviously I was called names, the Taliban and, you know, a terrorist, and it was, I think at that point, I'm like, all right, now I need to sit down and actually need to start learning about my faith, and that's when I actually took it upon myself to actually start learning about Islam more and more, as just opposed to just being called a Muslim, and that was just the end of it. I'm praying 5 times a day, but having no idea what I'm actually, you know, reciting. So it was from that point I decided to embrace Islam in a very serious manner, to understand everything, you know, to the best of my abilities. And I mean, with regards to science, especially in philosophy and any topic, that's related to science, well, is it a scientific fact? If somebody preaches something, then show me the evidence, show me the data that it's a scientific fact. And in order for something to become a scientific fact, it has to be proven, it has to be tested through numerous tests, and it has to be tested by numerous different scientists in that field for it to become a scientific fact. So if you have that evidence, provide it to me, present it to me. But if you don't, then there's no point in talking to begin with.
Like Darwin's theory.
The evolution.
Exactly.
Theory. It's a theory. Look, it's how long Darwin? It's been, I think, since the 1800s. I'm not sure exactly the date of Darwinism, or when Charles Darwin wrote The Origin of Species. But the fact is, with all the technology we have today, it still remains a theory.
Yeah. So great point.
So I don't know why people are holding on. I mean, it's a theory no matter what. With today's technology and advancements in technology, it's still a theory. It's not a fact.
Yeah. I love the science. I say bring it on, because the Quran is full of it. As Brother Akbar knows, I love one verse that affected me when I first became Muslim was the verse about everything being made of water. Everything.
Yes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ.
I mean, this is incredible, right? How did the Prophet Muhammad, people say this is not from Allah. How would he know in the middle of the desert everything's made of water? Amazing. We have also the development of the embryo, which is well documented. Many professors and scientists have become Muslims as a result. So as Muslims, we should embrace science. We're telling scientists, bring it on. We love it.
Yes, you're right, brother. But the point I want to say a point that every one of us should choose his friends in the right way, because our Deen, our Islamic Sharia, taught us that al-mar'u ala deen khalilih. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that everyone will be on the deen of his friend. So you must choose your friend rightly. And if you are in the deen of your friend, he may lead you to the Jannah or to the hellfire.
That was a hadith, brother. I love that. Can you repeat it?
The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-mar'u ala deen khalilih, falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil." Each one will be on the deen of his friend. So you must choose your friend rightly, because he may lead you or take you to the Jannah or to the paradise, or he may lead you to the hellfire. He will affect your thoughts. Clearly, he will affect your thoughts. So may Allah make it easy for us to choose our friends.
Yes, subhanAllah. And really briefly about, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to say, there was one point that I can't impress upon people enough, is that when you gain the Islamic knowledge, when you join the university or you go into classes, your point of reference is going to be the Kitab and the Sunnah.
Yeah, right.
You're going to revert back. Okay, he's saying this or she's saying that. Well, wait a minute. I know this contradicts what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, so I know to reject it. I may write it on the test paper, but I know it's not correct.
Right, yeah. Your point of reference is the Quran and the Sunnah, not
absolutely
some other theories. That's an excellent point. Brother Rami, what you said about being born Muslim, but after 9/11 you really went for it to practice the deen. I want to make one, people always say, mashallah, brother, you accepted Islam. And of course, mashallah, it's a great honor that Allah bestowed on this. SubhanAllah, of course it's a great honor. I don't know how to describe it. But also I say for people that are born Muslims, Allah has honored you with that deen. Absolutely. So of course this is a huge thing to consider. Students in America, like you said, perhaps they're a little bit lost in the American culture, and they're Muslim by name. It's a religion they inherited from their parents, but they haven't thought about that. I think it's high time that they really look at that and realize Allah has really honored them with the deen of Islam. Having said that, after 9/11, subhanAllah, that was a awakening for you.
Absolutely. I mean, that among other things, but I mean, that was the beginning of it. I mean, even as Muslims, inherited Muslims, a lot of us, whether we're here in the States or we're in Europe or we're in the Middle East, we take it for granted every single day. It's every single day. And actually what I've noticed is actually the converts to Islam, they're the ones who take it more seriously than we do, because they've seen the other extreme. They've seen the other end.
Yeah, right.
And we've been shielded from that. But the thing is, we've also been blessed with something that, I mean, Allah gave us we didn't have to choose. He gave us the opportunity just to be a Muslim.
That's what I mean from birth. He honored you like this.
Exactly. So that's something we, as Muslims, have to
respect it.
Exactly, respect it and take it more seriously, because as of what's going on today, I mean, there's so many things that we're doing wrong in the world, and we don't even notice it. And it could be these small things, these small changes that'll finally, give us that better picture amongst the non-Muslim community that we are Muslims and we're not terrorists and we're not primitive in our ways. If anything, we're very evolved.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I tell people, go ahead, brother.
There's a hadith, a narration that comes to my mind when I think about this is, we as an ummah, we have adopted, on ourselves the ways of the West as far as how we deal with each other, how we handle business, how we handle everything just in our regular everyday life. We deal with them the way it's dealt with in the West, and that's not going to bring us success. There's a narration that I remember where the Muslims were fighting, I believe it was the Persians, and the battle was going back and forth, and the Muslims could not understand why they couldn't win this battle. So they sat and they thought about it, and they figured they had abandoned the miswak.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
And they climbed into the trees and began to cut the tree branches in order to make the miswak. They began to clean the teeth with the miswak. The enemy saw that and thought they were cleaning the, sharpening their teeth to eat them, and they ran away from the battlefield.
SubhanAllah.
So the success came in sticking to that small sunnah. So the tawfiq is in sticking to the kitab and the sunnah, and the doors of success will be open to you from ways that you never expect.
Excellent point. How much of that, brother? A philosopher, thinker guy said to me, look, you Muslims are living in the 7th century, in the Christian calendar, right? You're living 1,400 years ago. You're backwards, and like you had mentioned, right? I said to him, in 20,000 years, if the world still exists, the state of California, I was in California at that time, what will have changed the law of gay marriage 100 times, will have changed this law and that law 100 times. The age of drinking will go up and down. The age of consensual sex will go up and down. But for the Muslims, what's halal will be halal still. And what's haram will still be haram until the day of judgment. So who is...
No, not even that. The Quran actually, it works for any time that we're going to live in. I mean, it was bestowed upon the Prophet Muhammad 1,400 years ago, and it still applies to today.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
And I mean, you can't find any other religion that still applies to today.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what today, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 4,000 years from now, the Quran still applies. The way it's been written, it applies to every age.
Well, one of the beauties of it is that the Quran doesn't change. Absolutely. The Arabic is the Arabic from then to now. Whereas with the other books, if you ask the average Christian, show me the book in the original language and then read it for me, they can't.
Right.
Well, we're the only religion that we all read the same.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
Yeah, we have the one uniform, no matter where you're from, we all have that one language, it's Arabic when it comes to the Quran.
And that's the beauty, and that's a unifier of Islam. You have Muslims from France, from Germany, from Africa, from wherever, and they speak Arabic and they can all communicate, and that is the brotherhood. I think that really creates the brotherhood now.
Yeah, that's a great point. Go ahead, brother.
Just a little comment about the fitna, intellectually, or any kind of fitna. One of the great imam in the Islamic history, I think he's Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, was saying to his student, to make his heart not like the sponge, any fitna come across, he absorb it. No, he make it like a glass. So any fitna come across, slip from it. Don't absorb it.
Yeah,
don't get it into your heart.
Reflect it out, yeah.
Reflect it out,
yeah. SubhanAllah. I think this topic, all the great scholars of Islam, I think Imam Abu Hanifa as well, spent the major scholars of Islam, they spent many years debating these people, and these ideas aren't new to the Muslim world. I mean, we have to have some sort of self-confidence in ourselves and our belief, and this is, and I always tell people, look, non-Muslims, they're watching us. If they see that you are not confident with your own beliefs, why would they become more interested?
Exactly. It's a matter of presentation too. I mean, it's how we react. It's how we communicate with one another. It's how we represent actually ourselves to the community. And it's, I mean, we don't have to go out of our way. We just have to implement what Allah asked us to do, and that's all we have to do. I mean, it's written. So I mean, we don't have to go out of our way to think of a new idea.
Right. SubhanAllah.
Just do what's been asked of us.
Go ahead.
One thing that I would tell the average layman like myself is avoid debate. Leave the debate to those qualified to debate, because when you open yourself up to debate, the person who's debating you may have more knowledge of what he's talking about, and then that doubt will enter your heart, and now all of a sudden you're laying in bed at night like, well, wow, that kind of made sense, and now you're in trouble. So I avoid these types of debates unless
Thank you, brother, for your thoughts. I certainly appreciate it. You guys, we got to wrap up this episode. Brother Rami, Hisham, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us in this two-part series.
Thank you very much.
When are you coming back?
Whenever you guys need me.
Okay, if you move away or go to another country, we're going to bring you on Skype, inshallah.
That sounds great.
Okay, cool. Brother Abu Abdur Rahman, thank you for your time. I expect to see you more and more on Huda TV as long as you're available, inshallah.
Just call me.
Thank you, brother. I certainly appreciate it. You guys in the audience, thank you for your feedback. Thank you for volunteering those beautiful Quran verses and hadith, and for your insights. I never involve you guys as much as I should. I apologize. I look forward to seeing you guys next episode. You guys at home, we're not finished yet. Give me just 1 minute to give you my final thoughts, which is you guys on university campuses around the world, I know that you guys are facing physical fitna and intellectual fitna. Take the proper measures to fight and prevent the physical fitna as well as the intellectual fitna. The intellectual fitna can be avoided by establishing a good social network of friends, be a practicing Muslim part of a community, and this is a solution to many, many of your problems. When you have a question about Islam, consult a qualified scholar from Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and don't ask unqualified professors. Don't believe everything you read in books and hear from them. Remember to ask questions. Remember that everybody has an agenda. Ask, why am I reading this book? Who wrote this book? And what is his or her intention? Having said that, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this two-part series. I hope it benefits you in your struggle on university campuses around the world. I look forward to seeing you guys next time on Let's Talk. Until next time, I leave you in the care of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're treading seems all uphill, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're treading seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the dips are high, and you want to smile but have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt.
So much, but I knew I believed in Allah and the Messenger. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
So, I mean, having said that, did these type of ideologies affect you in a negative way? Did it weaken your faith in any way, or what was the effect of being exposed to different ideologies? And
well, because I lacked knowledge, I was susceptible to everything just like everyone else.
Right.
It wasn't until I transferred to the University of Cincinnati that I began to have Muslim friends, and with my Muslim friends, they would remind me of Allah. They would remind me of, you know, I shouldn't go here, I shouldn't go there, I shouldn't associate with this person or that person. They kept me mindful of
the circumstances.
Right, of my actions. And, you know, for me, that's one of the biggest things that I think a person can do to protect themselves, is to have people around them, surround themselves with good Muslims, surround themselves with people who have good morals, good character, who have taqwa, who have knowledge and have fear of Allah. That's one of the biggest things that I think that a person can do to sort of So when you have questions,
right,
you know, like you said, you don't go to the Hindu professor.
Yeah.
You don't go to,
or even a Muslim professor who's not qualified.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Excellent point. Brother Rami, what do you think? I mean, I know you're also in a similar situation in the university. You're wrapping up your studies now. How big of a problem is this? I mean, how much is the Muslim affected negatively by hearing and learning about philosophies and other type of religious beliefs?
Well, I mean, like you said, if you're deficient in knowledge, it will affect you. I mean, and, you know, you are susceptible to a lot of different. I mean, there's a lot of different ideologies and theories out there, and you're susceptible to them. But you have to remind yourself at the end of the day you are a Muslim, and if you are in doubt, then go back to the literature, read.
Right.
If not, ask a scholar. I mean, I remember I had a professor it was a class, Western Civilization 2, and the first thing he said when he walked in was, "I don't believe in a God. I don't believe in your fairy tale style gods." He's like, and then he went there, he tried to pretty much disprove Judaism, Christianity, followed by Islam. He's like, if you don't like that, that's fine. Don't come back to my next class. This is how I am.
I had an experience like that too.
Good.
I mean, I never came back to his next class. I withdrew from this. I can find other professors, plenty of other professors that I can, you know, take a class with. But I mean, that was point blank right in the beginning. So I mean, it's you got to make that. You have to go in with that intention to make the decision that you can't ever let go of your deen.
SubhanAllah, right. Well, excellent point, brother. What about your experience? Go ahead.
I had a professor at University of Cincinnati told me he believed in no God, there was no God, that science can explain everything. So, you know, we would debate during the class, and there were other people of different faiths, and they would also debate with him, and he said science can explain everything. Well, one day, a humongous snowstorm hit Cincinnati that no one was prepared for. No one knew it was coming. They never warned us about it, and I mean, it shut down the whole city. So when we came back to school, I asked the professor, I said, why didn't you tell us that the snowstorm was coming? Well, I didn't know. I said, well, I thought you said science could explain everything. I said, you cannot explain everything. And I said, if that snowstorm was for you to know, you would have known about it.
SubhanAllah, that's a great point. Before we continue our conversation,
When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt.
Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to your viewers from around the world for another exciting episode of your favorite program, Let's Talk, of course, on your favorite channel, Huda TV. And if I might add, Huda TV is a pioneer and premier English language Islamic channel, but of course I'm biased because I work here. You guys, this is part 2 of our 2-part series about fitna on campus. This is a topic that was suggested to me by a good friend who said, listen, there's intellectual fitna as well as physical fitna. We talked about the physical fitna in the previous episode. I hope you guys benefited from that, and if you didn't get a chance to see it, definitely check it out online on YouTube and on our website as well. Second episode today, that is, rather this evening, intellectual fitna. This is a huge fitna, perhaps even greater than the physical fitna. And it attacks the psyche of the Muslim student the moment he steps onto the university campus. Usually this type of fitna originates from 2 types of groups. The first is the traditional religious organization simply preaching their religion. This is easier to deal with, I believe. Simply arm yourself with a network of good Muslim practicing friends and trustable scholars of Ahl Sunnah wal Jamaat. The second group, the second point of origin of intellectual fitna, comes from the university itself and is more difficult to deal with. It comes from atheists, liberals, seculars, philosophers, these type of people. What do? They specialize in just confusing the Muslim who was once a believer, and they use circular logic and this type of thought process to confuse the believer and turn him into a confused disbeliever, because he has been confused with this circular logic. Abu Abdur Rahman Muhammad, assalamu alaikum, thank you for joining me once again. Brother Rami Hisham, assalamu alaikum, brother, thank you so much. Of course, thank you guys for joining me, and you guys in the studio audience as well. Thank you for joining me for part 2 of our series, Intellectual Fitna. Having said that, before we go to our report, let me take your thoughts, brother. I know that you're from Azhar University, so you don't really have this challenge there, do you? Actually,
it is true that we don't have to that's challenge in the sense that we don't have professors who might have such a mentality. But in Azhar University, and one of its characteristics is that we study all kinds of ideologies and all kinds of psychologies and all kinds of theologies. We study them, and we study how to refute their claims, be they are atheists or whatever they are, and we study their claims and how to reply to them. And this is why I do recommend Al-Azhar as a source. For anyone who has doubt, you can contact, and it's now very easy to get the reply, and it will be very clear. And Alhamdulillah, as Muslims, we know that there is no doubt whatsoever when it comes to our beliefs and our basic principles.
Yes, subhanAllah. And we could even say, if someone did have a doubt that they picked up in the university, perhaps it's because they didn't acquire the knowledge of the deen itself, because the deficiency is with their understanding, isn't it?
Yes, yes, and this highlights the importance of the crucial role of the family, how they bring their kids in an Islamic way and to prepare them for facing such challenges and such claims.
Yes, subhanAllah. Yes. Brother, when you were at Ohio State, were you Muslim at that time or not yet?
Yes, I was Muslim. I was fresh out of the military.
Oh, subhanAllah.
Didn't really know.
In these philosophical terms, when in fact they don't have anything to stand on themselves, actually. They are confused themselves, and because they are confused, they deceive others. This is a big problem. The remedy for this problem we will discuss now in this program, inshallah. We would like to discuss preventative measures in order to protect the Muslim intellectually before he attends the university. Furthermore, remember, my dear students, my Muslim students from all around the world at various universities, male and female, remember, Don't simply believe everything your professor says because he is the professor. It doesn't mean it's the truth. Perhaps, like everyone, he has an agenda. Perhaps he has a Jewish, a Christian, a secular, a philosophy, some sort of agenda, some sort of bias. He's not totally objective as he or she would lead you to believe. That's not the case most often. And also, don't believe everything that you read in a book just because it's a nice edition and it's printed in a book. Who is the author of this book? What is his or her intention? Why is this book in the syllabus? And why and how is it in your hands now? No. Where is this book published? Everybody has an agenda. So think about that, my dear Muslim students. Keep that on your mind as we address this issue of intellectual fitna on university campuses. And this is not just in America and the West. This is right here in the Middle East as well. So let's take that into account. Also, you guys develop a strong network of Muslim people around you. And when you have a doubt, astaghfirullah, in your mind about Islam, don't consult your Hindu professor or your non-practicing Muslim professor. Contact a qualified scholar to help clarify this. If you're looking for Islamic information and you want to be clarified, you have to go to the proper source. Having said that, I know I talked too much. Let me introduce my respected and prestigious guests. They were here last week. We have a graduate from Ohio State University as well as Canadian University here in Cairo as well, Brother Abu Abdur